So I'm Tony Ollivier. I'm Canadian. I live in Vancouver. I used this joke about a year ago. I said, "What's the difference, between a Canadian and an American?" And a Canadian is an unarmed American with health care. And in the audience that I was in before, some people did not like that joke, but thank you very much. My background is I joined Lotus in 1994. The joke, I was 12, but I wasn't. I survived the IBM acquisition, and I'm trying to survive the IBM deacquisition as that happens. I did a number of different things. I worked in Western Canada, supported our Western Canadian customers, and I took a role managing all the enablement for Notes and Domino for version 6, I think it was. Helped release it. I also helped release IBM Workplace. Yeah. Then I left, and then I went to Microsoft. I was at Microsoft for 8 years. And I was actually on the Lotus Notes competitive team.
He was a double agent.
I know, I was deep cover. I tell people I was deep cover at Microsoft for 8 years. But I went around and talked to IBM customers to try and get them to move to Microsoft. Then I left Microsoft and came back to IBM, and now I've been going to Microsoft customers trying to get them moved back to IBM. Right? So I've got a long kind of history with this whole thing. And what I want to talk about is really why Domino for your rapid application development needs. So the things I want you to get out of this is understand the advantages. Now, you may intrinsically know the advantages of Domino within your organization. You may have trouble articulating that because you might be running into some people going, "I want to move," and I want to talk about that. And I want to give you some reasons to actually buy more Domino within your organization and continue to invest. Sorry. I hate this slide. So there's impact with Domino. If you saw this, Andrew Manby got up on Monday, and we talked about this, the total economic impact. If you've ever seen one of these Forrester studies, what they do is they talk to customers and they come up with a consolidated company, right? Because each company is a bit different, but they have if you take a look at the TEI study, they've done a pretty good job to estimate the benefits. And there's some pretty good benefits. There's a 302% return on investment. I'm not going to go through all the net present value, but the benefits they looked at it was one of the biggest one was the cost of avoiding other systems, right? By using Domino, they didn't have to go buy a help desk system, a CRM system, a collaboration system, and so on. So and I'm going to walk through some of those pieces. But our competitors have told us, there's the old guy moving, that Domino might be past its prime. Are you hearing that in your company?
Yes.
Right? Why are you still running Domino? Right? You got somebody new coming into the company. They look at your Notes client. They go, "Yeah, my dad used to use that." Right? That's an issue. Let me suggest another way to look at it. Okay? With Domino 10, and you'll see with 11, better performance, bigger databases, more clients, more ways to deploy, better integration, new programming models, right? It's not ready for retirement.
I still use Windows too.
But your management might be saying, "Hey, it's not strategic." I talked to an insurance company in Toronto a couple of months ago. He says, "Yeah, Domino's not strategic anymore. We have a big pile of applications on it, but it's not strategic." Right? Now, what would be some of the reasons they would say it's not strategic? What would your senior manager say?
Can't get any support.
Can't get any support. You can't get. There's no skills. Can't get any support.
Losing third-party vendors.
Third-party vendors, yep. So a lot of these are very accurate, right? You know, there's tribal knowledge. If you're doing Lotus script programming, there's tribal knowledge that you need to have, right? We're not coming up with any new Lotus script programmers sort of anytime soon. And so, competitors are saying it's old. Why would you want to invest in an old product? Lack of skills in the marketplace, and there's some changing IBM priorities, And IBM for all kinds of reasons, haven't really invested much in the product over the last X number of years. But things have changed, right? Lack of skills in the marketplace, we're addressing that with Node.js, React frameworks. We're doing some millennial developer outreach. If you saw Scott Good's Node-RED session yesterday, did anybody see that? That was great, right? You can create a web service, you can do some workflow, you can connect to a Domino database, and you don't have to know Lotus script to do that, right? Number of different things from a Domino's old. This goes back to the old guy slide. You know, verse on-prem, plans for low code and co-proder or pro-coder in the Domino developer, authentication support, all these kinds of things. Again, your senior managers may not realize that, and part of this is to kind of bring that forward. Then you've got the application issue. The application's ugly, right? Do you get that as a reason to move? The application's ugly, we need to spend $1 million to move, right? Now the issue is, do you move or renovate? That's my kitchen. When we bought the house, so I'm stretching the story a little bit. We bought the house, we did a kitchen renovation, but we could have moved in and the kitchen was fine. A little bit dated, 1970s, but we put a new kitchen in. Right? So your choice, again, from a do I move or renovate, is if I take something like this, do I do a coat of paint or new cabinets? So Teamworker, who saw the Teamworker session? Right? That's a new coat of paint. Right? I don't have to get in, I don't have to use a screwdriver, I don't have to remove anything. I put a new coat of paint with the Teamworker application, and I don't have to touch what's going on. It gives me a new UI. Or I can use a JavaScript framework like React or Angular or whatever you want, and I can put new cabinets on if I want. I don't have to move, right? Your end users, so we've had this conversation a lot. Customers go, I don't like Domino for mail. It's actually, it's not Domino, they don't like Notes. Domino's fine, right? So the issue is, again, what are my choices? Do I spend a lot of money or do I not? Has anybody done a migration from Notes to SharePoint or something else? You've been involved in that. How easy was it? And this, I have no idea whether it's easy, what you're saying it's easy or not, but how difficult or easy was it? Difficult. Right. So when I was at Microsoft, we would talk about moving mail. Mail's relatively easy to do, right? It's sort of well known. I can move it. Microsoft's doing free migration only the last 90 days of your email. If you're going to go past that, then you've got to buy some software and services and things. But applications are very challenging for all kinds of reasons. I'm going to go into that, right? But for a customer, and we've got lots of examples of customers going, I want to get rid of Domino, and I'm going to move to .NET. And I spend $1 million moving over, right? And there's no real reason to move over because you've now got an application that does the same thing that you did before, and it's cost me $1 million. But you got to be, when your senior management's making a change, they want to make a change, and it's usually. And I get this sort of once a week. We have a new CIO. They like Microsoft. We're moving, or at least the new CIO wants to come in. They want to make their mark in the company, right? And they want to change for change, just because it's change. So they're going to go. Well, we're going to go Office 365. We're going to Salesforce. We're going to go ServiceNow. We might throw some open source in it. I talked to a customer in Ottawa, this is a few years ago. He says, yeah, we're getting rid of Domino and we're doing open source. We've got some open source guys and we're rebuilding all the apps in open source. And I said, okay. I said, well, do you know why you have so many apps? He goes, no. I said, well, because they were really easy to build, right? So you are now going into open source, that's great. What are the issues with open source? It's free, right? It's free. Potential security issues. You've got to do all the integration yourself. It's tribal knowledge in a lot of cases with open source to be able to do this. But you've got this, oh, it's way better on the other side. So extra cost per user per application. So if I've got Domino and I'm using it as a help desk application, I built a help desk application, it's very common, and I'm doing some CRM, I've got to replace that with Salesforce and ServiceNow, right? That is way more expensive than one Domino client. Right? I've got some additional infrastructure, I've got cloud, absolutely cloud lock-in, right? Salesforce, for example, great company, they've got a big building just down the street when you can see that. They are not invested to allow you to move your data. Right, you move into Salesforce, it's completely locked there, which is great if you want that, but you're paying forever on Salesforce, right? And so there's some customers want cloud, some customers don't want cloud, some customers want a mixture. Domino gives you a structure to be able to choose where you want your things handled. Then there's this. So I've got a strategic platform. I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that. So Domino's not strategic. Our strategic platform is Netflix, right? This is the conversation you're having at home with your wife. Honey, our strategic platform streaming is Netflix. Then she goes, but the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is on Amazon. You know, what are your chances of not having 2 streaming strategic platforms in your house, or 3 or 4, right? So that IT strategy is important, right? Very clear. There's lots of consultants making lots of money doing way detailed platforms about everything that I want to do and how I want to do it. And you're going all that, you know, I've got it in my line of business, operations, teams, departments, partners, sales. And then you have the classic, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. This is not my son, but this was my son for 2 years, 2 months, 7 days, 47 minutes. He didn't sleep through the night so he had colic of some kind. So my son was like that and completely changed our plans on how we were going to do things. He's now 20, so he's sleep through the night.
Sometimes, yeah.
The point though is that you can have this great plan and your business changes, right? You have a line of business user that goes, yeah, I need this, I don't need that, right? Line of business is spending more than IT is, right? Because they can go, yeah, I can go buy that thing over there, I can use a credit card. And that's generated and fostered the whole shadow IT, right? You know, I've got better line of business users going, I got better systems at home than I've got in my office. Why am I using your office stuff? Right. So again, this is an issue. The other issue is the state of application development, right? You've got huge requirements for applications by line of business. This is I've got and the slides will be available. This is from Information Age. It's basically saying that the capacity or the requirements is this, the capacity for IT to deliver is this, right? So they've got to do something. And you've got your key programmers, right? They know every methodology. These are your millennial programmers. They React, Angular, Node.js, every other programming. Some are thought of and some haven't been thought of. But your business user knows Excel, right? So there's a bit of a disconnect there, right? If I want to get an application done and I've got to contact my development group and say, I've got this really important application, how do you justify that, right? A, you might have money, but they may not have the developers, right? So what are you going to do? If I want to use a full stack developer, that's expensive. How did Domino and Notes get started? Did you have computer science grads and you gave them a Notes client and say, build that? I would argue 95% of the Notes apps that were built and are probably still running are built by people that don't have a computer science degree, right? Because it forms and fields and views, it's very simple. Don't have to worry about that. right? So, and that's part of this is part of the TEI study, right? The sort of offsetting the costs. I can build something without requiring a full stack developer to move forward on this. Then we run into the problem of Office 365. So our strategic direction is Office 365. How many of you have Office 365 in your organization? Right? They've done a great job. Right? I know as a Microsoft, the big moneymaker was Office, the productivity suite. Right? It is $300, $400, $500 depending on what version you buy. If you buy the perpetual license, you would buy it, you would amortize it over 3 years, you'd pay maintenance on it, and you would get new upgrades. Right? But it was up to you to determine whether or not you use those upgrades and those features. Microsoft has moved that to a leased car model, and they are giving you a feature every month, or 2 or 3. Now, I was in an Office 365 conference. I was sitting beside a business partner that I met from Calgary. He was a big Microsoft partner. We were seeing a demo of some Outlook. Product manager was demoing this cool feature. The guy turned to me and says, "That's a great feature. My users that I support will never use it." Right? They can't consume the new features. So most users in your organizations, Office 2003 gives them everything they need. Right? Word has 1,000 features. You use 10 of them. Most people use 10 of them. You have a financial specialist. They do these big million row pivot tables. That's a very small amount. But Microsoft's done a great job converting it to a sort of leased car model. But the analogy I make is that Office 365 and the features that you get is kind of like I live in Arizona. I buy a really nice BMW, and oh look, it's got heated seats. I'll never turn those on because it's Arizona. I want a seat cooler, not a seat heater, right? So if you look at that, well, I'm going to use Office 365. It's got everything. It's got kind of the kitchen sink. There's Power Apps, and there's SharePoint, and there's Microsoft Teams. So how many of you have built apps or use apps that have local replication? Right? There's some reason why you need data locally. Or we had Jacobs Engineering. She's not in. I don't think she's in the room. They talked about a server in Papua New Guinea. Right? It's pretty hard if you've got pretty spotty internet in Papua New Guinea, so you need that replication offline. So Office 365 sort of does offline. Right? I can take a SharePoint library offline, but that's just a document. Right? Power Apps has a mobile player, so I can take sort of offline, but it doesn't do the replication. Actually, what I think we should have done this is, my opinion, we should have taken the replication engine and notes and sold that separately in every other application. Right? We probably would have made a fortune off that. SharePoint was the platform we sold to. When I was at Microsoft about 8 years ago, SharePoint was the target environment. The last good customization you do is SharePoint 2010. They've reduced your ability to do customization because they don't want you to customize because you can't upgrade. Right? And if they want you to move to SharePoint Online, you still can't do customization. Right? So their Power Apps is really the replacement for InfoPath. And you can take a SharePoint app and kind of turn it into a Power App, but you've got to do a bunch of customization. It's not easy to do. You're more on the pro code versus the business user. Microsoft Flow is their workflow on Office 365. I can have workflows across the applications. Workflows are more of a consumption model. You actually get a few free, you get some free per user. If you go over that, you have to start paying. Microsoft is really good for cost escalation. They want you to spend more money with it. And there's some other things, and there's a couple of links in here. There's certainly some security concerns over in Europe with Microsoft and Microsoft Cloud, and there's some single vendor issues, right? I told customers lots, if you have all your email, all your documents, all your collaboration, all your operating system, everything with one vendor, what's your ability to negotiate terms and conditions? It's challenging. right? Because especially once you've moved, it's very challenging. And Microsoft, I was at a Gartner conference a few years ago, and the Gartner rep said, we were talking to a customer, and the customer said, Microsoft is forcing us to go to Office 365. They're forcing us to go to the cloud. And he said, well, how are they doing that? He says, well, they're threatening an audit. And the audit would stop if we moved to the cloud, right? So just be aware. The service is fine, right? Microsoft is well funded. The data centers are well maintained, but there's some more business issues that you have to be aware of as you move, if you're considering moving. Okay, I'm going to go back to our kind of regularly scheduled program. This is Domino. Why Domino is the best rapid application development environment. So, with the TEI study, why did they get the numbers? Top things: avoided costs of off-the-shelf software products and reduction of resource costs from avoiding manual processes. That's workflow, right? And a couple of other quotes. Head of operations, other platforms you need to develop all the features yourself. With Domino, you've got a stable framework. And then this other sales information management, the total cost of ownership is very low, right? I can run it on Linux, I can run it in Docker. It's very cheap to run Domino. But why do they generate the benefits? What is it about Domino that generates the benefits? Do you know who these guys are? These are the halal guys. There's actually a store about a block from here. It's a shawarma, chicken, all those kinds of things. People line up for these guys. This is on New York City. Now their secret sauce is this stuff. This is a white stuff that they use. But what's Domino's secret sauce? And I'll talk about 4 different things. All in one: location, 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 the domino effect, and the MacGyver equation. You might realize this is not traditional Microsoft or IBM marketing speak, right? This is Tony's view of things. So all-in-one versus distributed. So this is a on-premises Domino environment versus an on-premises Microsoft environment. Right? Now you may have some of that, you may not, but I just wanted to compare. With Domino, I get everything that I need. If I wanted to replace Domino with a on-premises Microsoft environment, I need SharePoint, I need SQL Server, I need Exchange, Windows only, bunch of .NET, Active Directory. And those are multiple servers, multiple administration people, because if I'm administering SQL Server, I'm probably not administering Exchange. Different skills. And we heard Jacob's, I love the quote with Jacob's yesterday when I asked her, I said, how many so she's got, was it 87,000?
87,000.
87,000 databases. They've got 23,000 people. They have 1 template. And they have 3 developers,
Yep.
and 250 servers, and they had 3 administrators,
Yep. Yep.
right? So, different. So the benefit you get from all-in-one versus distributed: easier administration, right? Your Domino admin does the directory, the databases, the backups. You may have somebody doing the operating systems, right? Managing the operating systems, but they're handling that. One person's handling all that. It's definitely faster, easier to install and maintenance. You've got better deployment flexibility. You can determine what servers you want to have. I can cluster servers from different operating systems. And I've got dramatically simplified licensing, and we're actually continuing to work on that. And you get email and applications in one platform. This is the current verse on-prem. I think this is a later version of verse on-prem and the applications. Okay, the second thing is location, location, location. This is data flexibility. Where do I want my data? Do I want it on premises? Do I want it in the cloud? Do I need it hybrid? Do I need it disconnected? That's Vancouver, by the way. I was actually looking to see, I don't know if anybody's got an example of another product that gives you that flexibility, and I don't know if there is. Can anybody know offhand if you've got a system that will do? I was actually looking at Mongo to see if I can do the same kind of thing. I don't know if there's another system that does that. Right? And it's really important. Now, you may go, look, I don't need local replication. We're all Notes clients, I don't have laptops, the applications, I don't need that kind of flexibility. But in most cases, the customers I was talking to World Vision, worldwide, company that for supporting kids and those kinds of things. They've got a number of Domino applications. They got a number of Domino applications in very spotty internet access, right? So again, having local replication, secure local replication is really important. This is a key value that Domino provides because you as the company get to choose where you want your data. You want it all in the cloud. If I'm in Germany, I need it on premises. I'm in the US, I need it in the cloud. I can choose where I want to have that data, and I can do selective replications. I can have just the German data sitting in Germany, and I can have the American data sitting in the cloud in the same application. You've got some open source choices. You could go all open source, right? I can go to Mongo, I could go Zimbra for mail, I can do some LDAP, I can do Apache. But this is like buying a house from Home Depot, right? You go into Home Depot and says, I'd like to buy a house. They go, great. You get one of those really big shopping carts, right? You've got to put all the pieces together. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is the network effect, right? Everybody knows what the network effect is. The network effect is present. The value of the service increases with the number of people using it, right? I've got a little different take on that. This is the domino effect. This is the value you get by having all these services in one system. I get field level security, I have an embedded directory, I've got a NoSQL database, an HTTP server. I've got all these things in one system. And you go, okay, great, that's why. So what? What does that mean? Okay, here's some examples. Who's built a Domino application, right? Open up a Domino application, you add some fields, add some views, deploy it to the server, which means I turn the security on. I let the user start using it. I can access it from a browser, and I can replicate it to an iPad, Mac, or Windows machine, now Android. Okay. How long would you, if I said I need an application to track parking spaces, how long would it take you to do that?
Couple
Like
hours.
minutes, right?
Yeah,
a couple
yeah,
hours.
yeah.
If you wanted a UI, okay, if I want to,
I'm pretty picky about
Yeah,
my
okay.
UIs.
So when I was at Microsoft, and this is about 8 years ago, we had to build it. I was building an application it was to track training for sales reps, right? It was to what things they'd watched and things like that. And I had to use SharePoint, and I had to use InfoPath, which is now a discontinued product. And I had to build the InfoPath form, and I had to do a bunch of stuff per field, and I had to publish it into SharePoint, and we went back and forth, and my manager, who was also from ex-Lotus, I said if I had Domino, I could have done this in 15 minutes. This took me several sort of hours, days, long time. So this is something very easy to do. I can go to a SaaS application, right? If I can go to something like Airtable, or even something like OutSystems, and I can kind of build that, right? I can drag and drop, and I can do those kinds of things. But again, if I want to replicate the data locally, if I want to add the kind of security that I want to do, it's challenging. The next example. I have a view, and I want to hide some documents unless you've got explicit access. Right? How many people need to do that in one case or another, right? An RFP, performance management. I've got a lot of documents, and I need some specific controls over this thing. How do you do that? You add a reader field. Right? Have you tried to do that in any other application, in SQL Server or SharePoint? You actually can't do it in SharePoint. Right? I've got to have another view. I've got to, there's some effort that I've got to go through. It's not simple to do. Want to upgrade or add a Domino server? I'm simplifying the upgrade a little bit. Right? You download the code, you do an in-place upgrade, you run update. A little bit more. Not much though. Right? Really, not much. Okay, I want to upgrade the database format. I want to maybe change the template. All fairly easy to do. If I want to add a new server, I want to do it in Docker. I can install a Docker container. Thomas has got all the scripts to do that.
In 29 seconds?
29 seconds, yes. Yeah, it's quite simple to do that. This is upgrading from Exchange 2010 to 2016, but it's actually a migration. And this is just the way Exchange works. This is the way that a lot of the Microsoft products work, right? There are multiple pieces. They brought them together. An Exchange upgrade is several months if it's a large organization. It's a big effort to do that. Again, I'm not here trying to sell you, Domino versus Exchange. I just want to give you an example of the value that Domino provides. But this is your organization today, a lot of organizations, right? Okay, we've moved to Salesforce for CRM, ServiceNow looks good for help desk support, I've got Workday, I've got some SharePoint, I've got a variety of things, back to my IT strategy and plan, right? But you look at that and you go, yeah, my budget's just gone way up, right? I've got to spend much more money on this, but I've got this very nice, carefully orchestrated IT infrastructure. Okay, that's great until the business analysts arrive. And the business analysts, who's done business analysis in here for an organization, right? So, and Luis, we just wanted for the launch for 10, right? I've got how many deals are at risk because of support issues, right? Well, if I go back to my IT organization, I've got Salesforce and I've got ServiceNow or some other help desk. How do I do that? Right? I can't get that easily from those applications. I need a report on employee engagement by sales territory. I've got to pull information from a variety of services and a variety of systems. That's a lot of work. And that is mostly a guy with a big spreadsheet or multiple spreadsheets. So this is going to date the room. You remember this guy? And you go, who's that? Then you have to leave because you're too young.
Show's been rebooted.
Yeah, he has. He's really good with this. Right? So the last thing I'll talk about is the idea of the MacGyver equation. Okay? So Domino's easy to set up. It's all in one. I've got a Domino server running on my laptop. And we've done this in the demos this week. Luis, we had Alexa talking to Domino. It was very straightforward to make these kind of integrations. And the demo at the bottom, you can see the screen, Domino ToyWorks, and Darren's talking right next door here. It's ServiceNow connected to Domino. And it didn't take him that long, Luis. It took him about a week. And he didn't know ServiceNow.
Well, it took a week to learn ServiceNow.
Right.
And it took about a couple of hours to get the integration done once you use ServiceNow. So for somebody that already knows both platforms or any other platform, all these integrations could be minutes.
Right.
So in my lab on Wednesday, I showed that making Domino to make that phone call,
Right.
5 minutes, 2 lines of code.
Right. It's challenging to do that on other platforms, really challenging, right? So again, and that integration, you don't necessarily have to know Lotus script, right? You need to know where the structure of the data, I've got where the fields are and what I want to pull out, but I can do all this in a combination Node.js, maybe Node-RED, but I'm able to use Domino as a aggregator and integrator to be able to bring this thing together. This may not be a strategic application for an organization. They go, no, I don't need that. But then you talk to the guy that's sweating bullets for a spreadsheet to pull that data together, it's a huge pain, right? So you could use Domino to build something like that. It's not, quote, strategic, but it's quick, it's fast, and it's cheap. And it's worthwhile continuing to use that. Okay, so this is kind of the end of it. But Domino today can deliver real applications and real value to your organization, right? We've upgraded it, we've updated it, we've added new programming models. We suffer, I think, mostly because of the Notes client, the quote-unquote UI of the Notes client, which I'm hoping will be changed. The all-in-one architecture is still, incredibly value to an organization. I got everything that I need, I can build things very quickly, and I get an application out very quickly. And you can use these millennial developers. There's lots of examples, and you know, Luis is doing this sort of technical outreach. We're doing these webcasts. It's very easy to take a millennial developer that's never seen Domino and start to access this data without actually having to know anything about Lotus Script. And then finally, the value increases the more you use it. Any questions, arguments, complaints?
Can I get the sled in?
Yeah. Thank you. I know I'm between you and the airport, but thank you very much.